After 250 years of slavery, the black community has been muted, it's been hated, marginalized, and disenfranchised. But many believe that the passion that we're seeing stoked right now for social change is enough to make us believe that transformation is on the horizon. The question is, how much hope should we have? In order to discuss this topic, we bring in our esteemed panelists now. It includes the voice of ESPN college football and our Grand Slam tennis, Chris Fowler, NFL player and front office executive, Riddick, and journalist Clinton Yates. He's a columnist for ESPN's Undefeated and a voice you've heard on multiple ESPN platforms. And I want to start with you, Clinton, because we had a conversation that made me truly believe that you are cautiously optimistic about the time that we're in right now. So why do you believe this moment is different from what we've seen in the past?
I would say more that I'm cautiously optimistic. I would say that I believe that we are looking in the rearview window, as far as my life is concerned, at a different America. You can't tell me that things haven't changed when you simply walk outside of your door and take a look at everything that's going around. The Minnesota school system deciding that they're going to divest themselves from police, simply humans to humans, social development saying, we don't need you anymore. That was a huge step, and it meant a lot to me in terms of what white folks, quite frankly, are willing to do to check themselves in this world.
Lewis, we've kind of seen the movement extend to a younger generation, even Kyler Murray coming out and saying he'll kneel during the national anthem next season. I mean, it seems as though this younger generation is not set in the same institution that your generation or the ones before were restricted by.
These young adults, these young teens, they're all out there right now, and they are committed to the fact that, look, things are not the way they were. And it doesn't matter what my generations or generations before me really thought about it. They have been strong enough and wise enough and aware enough to educate themselves and be so interconnected that they've been able to break free of some of those prejudices that have been handed down to them and or tried to be forced upon them. And they have really taken it upon themselves to be free of that kind of thinking and really see people for what they are and have that kind of equality in their mind when they meet someone. And that right now, that is what is propelling this movement forward. And that is what is going to allow us to have the kind of resilience and fortitude, those kind of athletic monikers that we hear all the time in football. That is what's going to allow this country to have that kind of thing going forward, to sustain this and hopefully enact meaningful change that is long lasting. Because without that kind of youthful exuberance, without that kind of energy, we all know what can happen. This can stall out very quickly and we're on to the next thing. But I quite frankly don't think the youth of this planet, and again, I say not just nationally, but the youth of this planet is not going to allow that to happen.
But one of the things that Martin Luther King Jr. said in 1963 was that one of the biggest stumbling blocks in the stride to freedom and true justice is the white moderate. And Chris, I bring you in now not to talk and speak for every white man, but we certainly have seen a very influential influx of passion from the white community and interest in social justice. My question for you is, why now?
Well, this does feel different. I'd like to share Clinton's optimism. I've been listening a lot to people across a broad racial spectrum, to a broad generational spectrum. I believe that the young people are an important voice here. The reaction was so visceral to the video of George Floyd's murder that I think that was the initial spark. But as we know, the initial heat around the issue doesn't win the day. We have to have a whole lot of people who don't want to be just a part of the moment, but want to be a part of the movement.
I like that, Chris. It's not about the moment, it's the movement. What do you think right now is going to be pivotal in the white community, or things to be leaned on that you've gleaned through conversations or actions that could be taken forward from this moment?
Well, I'll confine it to one of the sports we cover, which is college football. I can guarantee you that right now conversations are being had among coaching staffs, which in college football, which is not done as well as the NFL has, as Lewis knows. Shocking lack of representation for black coaches, head coaches, and assistant coaches. But now we're seeing those conversations take place because it's very challenging for a lot of these folks to lead in an area where they don't have that firsthand experience. But there's no longer an excuse. There are going to be more mistakes made, like the one that Mike Gundy made, and there are going to be more apologies made. But that's a good thing. It may take time, but I do see progress in this area, if for no other reason than job security.
Clinton, I want to read to you books right now on the New York Times bestsellers list. White Fragility, Me and White Supremacy, How to Not Be a Racist, and So You Want to Talk About Race. What is your reaction when you hear that? Have you had conversations with your white peers about what they should be doing, trying to think through, or do in this moment to make sure that we can continue through this movement?
Yes, and you know what I've told my white peers? Go talk to your white friends and your white families and your white coworkers. And I'm dead serious about that in all sincerity. Because the bottom line is that we know what this is like. We've been telling y'all. So when it comes time to discuss it, we don't need to talk to y'all. And I mean that in this context. What's going to change is when the people that you interact with amongst those who do not have to talk about it are the ones that are talking about it. Not when you're interacting with those who are forced to live that part of their life every day. And so when it comes to what should be done, talking about it with black folks is fine. I mean, it makes me feel better to know that there are allies and people that are down for the cause. But when it comes to what actually happens when you get in the voting booth, what actually happens when you're looking for somebody on your school board, or what happens when you're interacting with somebody as a police officer, that matters based on what you think when you don't have to. That's what privilege is called. And that's why it's a thing to note.
Louis, you'll have the final word here on exactly how we can combine our knowledges, our impact, and hopefully our leaders in sport can carry this movement forward, because I think that that's something that we all need right now, is our athletes, our coaches, to be standing up in this moment.
This is a true inflection point of true 100% honesty. And I think as long as you are that and you are able to kind of work your way through those feelings that you have, you will arrive at the right conclusion as far as doing what is right here. And that goes for black and white. And people need to come together. They're going to need to understand that this is something that just can't be talked about. This is not a time for just making statements. It's a time for making impact. And you make impact by the actual things that you actually do. And I have long said already during this movement that it is already time to start transitioning from making statements to having a positive impact. And that's what you're going to be judged by. Let's not just keep talking about it. Let's just start doing. And the more we do, the better off we will be. And we have to understand this also. This is a problem that has been hundreds and hundreds of years in the making. People cannot expect in this microwave society that we live in for this to be something that, well, we talked about it, we've done a few things, and now all of a sudden we're fixed, let's roll. This is something that's going to take time, and it should take time, and people are going to need to remain patient, and they're going to need to remain vigilant, because that's the only way we will get out of it.